So we have time for a few questions. And actually, do you want to grab the mic? Do you want me take a mic around? So we'll actually come around with the handheld. If you have questions for Patrick, we have about 5-10 minutes. Yeah.
Tell us more about Startup. Tell us about Startup Story.
Yeah, thank you for asking. If there was one thing, I was like, is he going to say that? And that's something that I left on the floor. Thank you for asking.
Can you tell us about starboarding?
Starboarding.
He said startup.
Starboarding? I was like, this is some sort of like platform.
This is
I don't know.
It's a subreddit. So guys, if you pull up Reddit, subreddit starboarding. We'll start the lecture. It's crazy. We should do it.
Okay,
Subreddit.
sorry. What is, can you tell us about Startup Soiree?
So, great question. Thank you. So as we've gotten into this thing, and I've gotten totally enamored and pulled into business, that's what I'm great at. Pixelated is it's our first boat in the water, and we love it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's been this super creative, cool. I mean, it's the art that I work on right now, and I totally don't mean that in a tongue-in-cheek way. I would be hard pressed to believe you if you told me that creating a website that converts people to fill out a form for you isn't an artful process, because it absolutely is. It's putting images out there in the hopes of eliciting a response. Like, that is art in its best sense. And when you talk about digital media and digital art, that's like kind of it, right? When people talk about making art inside of a space, like any great website does that, because it engages you and it makes you move through this process of thought. So as we've done this, we realized, the aha moment came when I looked at the photo booth and I saw Pixelated, and I was like, we created two things. We created our brand, and we created a tool, which is the photo booth. And I can wipe that brand off. I can put anyone else's brand on there. So that's when I started to kind of have my aha moment about branding and all of the free HubSpot things that I had read. And I mean, every single free HubSpot thing that I could read. Like, if you guys are starting a business, if you need marketing advice, HubSpot's free ebooks are absurdly helpful. All of those things kind of came back into play all of a sudden, and I realized like the capacity of how to look at branding, and that by having a brand that was very graphic-y and very fun and very strong and stylish, and working with it, always turning it and getting pixelated, and like having the vernacular pixelators, pixelated, like pixelations are our video, like we brand everything. By playing with our branding, and I'm definitely kind of a word guy anyway, I got this read into bringing this creative insight to people, to other people's brands. So from there, talking with people, we started to kind of hit our rhythm, and we started to realize that that we had something to say aside from just in the photo booth world. So Startup Soiree is, you've been at a networking event before, and you're talking to the other person that is like the perfect person to run into at that event. You're like, you're my conversation for tonight. Like, I'm so happy that I found you, and you're really vibing, and then a guy comes up and he goes, excuse me, if you guys need law services, like, here's my card, blah, 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 blah. And then you guys look back at each other, and you've like totally been Men in Black, and you're just like, like it was so good, but you can't like recover it because the zeal is gone. Even if you like recover what you were talking about, that like thing that was happening, it's gone. So our concept is Startup Soiree, Zong, for sure. Startup Soiree is all about, it's a high-end networking event, exclusively for founders of companies and their plus ones. So in order to get invited, you have to fill out credentials. So you show us your LinkedIn profile, you show us your website, so that we can make sure that you're a founder, because we don't love lawyers. I love lawyers. There's the time and place for it. And what we thought is by creating this special spot where bosses can only talk to bosses, that people that own companies, they have to deal with stresses that everyone else that works in their company doesn't have to deal with. Like, my employees do not stress about payroll. I stress about payroll. That's not their responsibility to stress about. It's my responsibility to stress about it, but it's nice to have a shoulder to lean on. The other thing that's nice is saying, hey man, how did you take your company from $500,000 to $1 million? Or $1 million to $10 million? Or how did you fix your sales funnel? Or how do you do your outbound marketing? Or what did you do an email list? Like, all of those first level conversations, they have a tremendous value the further you get up the ladder. So being able to match those people with each other. So Startup Soiree is that. That's our concept
If
behind it.
somebody's interested in it, how do they find that out?
So you would go to startup-soiree.com, and there's a really great website there that really illustrates everything, and there are 3 sections for you to be able to sign up. So there's the first section would be if you wanted to be considered as an attendee, you would fill it out with your credentials, and when the first event's going to be in January, after that point it will be a monthly event. The second section is for sponsors, and then the third section is if you were browsing our site in Denver, for instance, and you thought, I'd really like to bring Startup Soiree to my city. It sounds like a great concept. So it's something that we put in the water with the intention of being able to scale it, but really what we're focusing on is just creating the community right now. So we had planned on throwing the first one in August, and then we bumped it a month, and then we bumped it a month, and then we really looked at it closely and we thought, why are we trying to put this on the plate so quickly? What we really care about is, it's not just to throw the event, it's about creating that community, really getting those intelligent minds inside of the room and having them talk with each other. So we really need to build that community. So we pushed it 4 months back and said, let's focus the next 3 months on just making this incredible community. So then when it comes time to launch the event, we can say, we've been building with you guys, we've been talking about this, here it is, are you interested?
I want to get one more question before we have to wrap up. Hey, Crystal.
Hi.
I have a question regarding, well, first of all, I want to say thank you for shouting out Dundalk, even though I'm from Essex, so.
Yeah, but you do.
Yeah, but
You feel the
I
same
feel
thing. I get
you
it.
talked about this.
I get it.
My question is, how do you find, because I know you're a very artistic and very talented person, when you do crossover, when you did decide that you wanted to be pixelated, and also when you decided that you wanted to be a part of and found Startup Soiree, how did you decide what to focus in on? A lot of times when you do crossover, when you have that aha moment, you're like, okay, I'm talented at this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, and then you're quick to fail because you spread yourself too thin.
Sure.
So how did you find that focus? Or are you still trying to find that focus?
Absolutely. Evolution constantly is critical.
Great question.
Really great question.
Wish I had a prize for a great question. Oh, I do. T-shirt. Okay.
There you go. They happen organically. I don't seek any of them out whatsoever anymore. That's what I stopped doing, is I stopped seeking them out, and I just started tuning myself into opportunities as they present themselves. That's one thing. The other thing is that I will take seriously and consider every opportunity. And then after a period of considering it and filling my plate up with the 8 next things maybe, then you go back through with a scalpel. You cut out all the stuff that doesn't really, after you've lived with it for a bit, you know the things that you're not gonna follow up on, and you cut it out before you fail at it. But largely that's it, is I stopped trying to say, I really want to do this, and I just started waiting. The art gallery fell in our lap. It fell in our lap. Someone came to us and said, I love what you guys do. I want you to take this space. I don't care what you do with it. Let me know what you need to do so we can make this work. I mean, I'm not joking at all. That was it. It was just like this, and this. This is the deal. I want it. And that just comes from us having, worked with our heart and our will, and just push through, and just hustle. Just hustle your ass off, and it'll show. That's the thing about being dynamic in the world today. Like, everybody does stuff so half-assed. So if you give a tiny shit, you're gonna annihilate anyone next to you. If you get the smallest shit and you do it for twice as long as you would normally want to quit, you'll win.